Canada, we can, you know, we can go all around the world. I think most of it in the English-speaking area, but certainly we have got families from all over the place. And that's what it's done, and it is amazing. I have been trying to come to this country for ages. My family's been trying to come to this country for ages. My grandfather's brother came over here to Adelaide about 1890 or something. We were known, we certainly weren't first fleeters, but we were here a long while ago, and they settled in Adelaide, and they're still propagating the good name of Kerr, Birch, etc. And then the next thing, I suppose, was my father, who was a sailor, but he became a hobo in Australia in around the 1925s, and he caught rabbits, skinned rabbits for a living. He taught some boxer dancing in return for dancing lessons, I think.
Boxing lessons, dear.
That was one wave. My grandfather, who was a rather famous artist, he was invited by the New Zealand government to go out there and paint pictures, and the New Zealand artists didn't like that at all. Why went to Britain? Well, we've got perfectly good ones here. And he came to Australia, and he sailed back through Fremantle. And I came here myself, I don't know, 1950s or something like. No, before that again, I had an uncle and aunt who went to Mount Eliza in south of Melbourne, and my uncle couldn't stand the fact that the socialists were coming into England, so he thought he'd come into a good, free country. And he begat, and so tonight we've got Jenny Kay and Simon Kay, who are offsprings of sometime around that, I chased Adam Wolf's mother in Hong Kong, and that somehow led to me being the godfather of Adam Wolf, who's here tonight. So, I myself came here as a young sailor in the 50s and thought, what a lovely country, I'm going to settle here, but it was so far in those days, not like now you jump on a plane and you're there, and I gave it up. And so we've kept on through the generations trying to get to Australia, and it seems that this getting a visa, people will do anything, they'll even marry an Australian. Anyway, like it or not, you've got him. He's nice. His brother wasn't so lucky, as you've heard. He was over here surfing, doing all those things you do. And when his visa was out, that was it. So if anybody will take my other son. Anyway, I just want to turn to slightly. So what I've really tried to say here is, look, this is these families all brought together. We're all trying to get to Australia. Some succeed and some don't. But we'll come back here to haunt you year after year after year. If you don't let us in, we'll be here. And we're hopeful that this young couple will begat and begat and begat, so that we can really perpetuate the relation. Now, one last thing that Jane doesn't realise, and I was very interested because I asked Helen about what on earth they were going to call themselves, because Jane is called Wiltshire Butler, and I thought, God, not another hyphen going to be called Kerr after that. And here they were just going to be called straight Mr. and Mrs. Kerr, was a great thing to me. However, what Jane doesn't realise is that I'm part of the great clan Kerr. And you hear about all these fancy Highland clans, about the Macquackles and the Macquackles and all those who live up there. Well, on the border of Scotland and England is an area of very fierce and nasty people. And one of the clans is the Clan Care. They've got quite pretty tartans. So Jane has got to go on bended knee to the Clan Care and say, may I come aboard? But she's actually got in by the same process. You know, she's married a Scotsman. You wouldn't think he's a Scotsman. Anyway, if the next time you see Jane, she's wearing a sporran and a tilt, even though girls don't wear tilts, that's what's happening. Now, I want to turn to a more serious note there, and this is of religion. When we were having a swim in the pond just over there somewhere with Jane, she said, do you have a religious background? And I said, well, I started that way, and I was a head choir boy, and I was the guy who took around the incense in a high Anglican church. But I said I kind of fell by the wayside, and I gave it up in my teens. And what about the boys? Well, Tim and Andrew, Andy, they were both baptized, like it or not. And I don't know what has happened to them since then, but they've probably gone astray a little bit.
Where's your business card?
But my mother was she in her early years started up as a Catholic. She took up the Catholic faith, and later on in her aged life, when death came close, she decided that she should take it up again as a good insurance policy. You know? And so we've tried all these things there. But my mother loved a little story, which I'm going to finish there. Julie says, for Christ's sake, don't tell this story. But this is a little story about a lady was in bed with a gentleman one afternoon, and they heard the front door rattle, and she said, God, get into the closet, get into the closet. So he jumped out of bed and went into the closet and closed the door, and it was a little voice alongside of him said, it's dark in here, do you want to buy my frog? And he said, how much? And he said, $1. So that was fine. So a couple of weeks later, he was in bed with this lady again, and the same thing happened. The door rattled, and she said, quick, quick, get into the closet. And a little voice came, it's dark in here. Do you want to buy my frog? And he said, well, how much? He said, well, it'll be $5 now. So another week later, he was in with the lady once again, door rattled again, wretched husband, back again, quick, quick, into the closet. Into the closet he went. It's dark in here, isn't it? You want to buy my frog? And he said, how much this time? The little boy said, well, $10. So when the good man had talked to his girlfriend about this, she said, well, this is no good. We can't have my son going and extortioning you every time like this there. You've got to go and confess your sins in the church this coming Sunday. So they went down to the church, and little Johnny was pushed towards the confessional, and he said, it's dark in here, isn't it? And the voice behind said, oh God, not you again.